Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Low Carb Leader podcast. You have joined me for episode 95. So this is a little bit different. I am live streaming this on Facebook Live, and then I'm going to put it on the podcast. So if you haven't joined or subscribed to the podcast, Low Carb Leader, please do so because we have a lot of great episodes on there. All right, so today I'm going to be talking about signs that you're eating too much sugar. But before that, I want to welcome you and invite you to a no sugar challenge, which is going to start June 19th and go for 2 weeks and end July 3rd. And I'm going to end it right before the 4th of July weekend. So you don't have to worry about it too much. So 14 days of no sugar. It's absolutely free. The only catch is you have to be a friend of mine on Facebook because otherwise I cannot add you to the group chat. So we're going to do some group chats. We're going to do a couple live group videos and we'll go from there. So if you've been trying to kick sugar, then this is the time to do that. And I have to talk about the St. Louis Blues. So I live in St. Louis, and the St. Louis Blues won the Stanley Cup last night for the first time in history. It's a huge day here in St. Louis for the hockey and for the city. So if you're a Boston fan, I'm sorry, but we are celebrating here in St. Louis. So that's pretty awesome. All right, so let's get into the signs of eating too much sugar. And after I go through a few signs, I have about 7 signs that I'm going to go through. Then I'm going to give you a list of responses. I posted on Facebook the question of how are you affected by sugar? And I got a whole list of bad symptoms from people, and that'll be very interesting. And then if that doesn't convince you to stop sugar, then I don't know what will. All right, sign number 1, and this is an obvious one. And if you're watching this live, type in live or replay so I know you can hear me okay. All right, so sign number 1, cravings. For those that eat a lot of sugar, you're going to go in this cycle of high insulin, low insulin shakes, and you're going to end up eating sugar every couple hours in order to keep your energy up. Personally, this is really the reason that I ended up going low carb, is because I would eat a breakfast like French toast with syrup, and an hour and a half later, a couple hours later, my hands would be so shaky I couldn't even function. And the only way that I could get that back, get the feeling comfortable again, was by eating more sugar. And so I was in this horrible cycle. That is actually the reason I started. French toast is the reason that I started low carb. So you're going to have these continual cravings, right? And sugar acts like an opioid in your brain. So you have these receptors. So it's just, it is in your head, but it's not really in your head, right? It's biology that your body is craving the sugar. So if you're eating it all the time, your body's going to crave it more and more. All right, number 2, wrinkles. So sugar affects the quality of your collagen in your face, right? And it causes glycation, which ages the skin. So eating sugar, especially for you ladies and for you men, you're going to get more wrinkles if you're eating sugar, right? So if that's not a good reason, I don't know what one is. And another part of the skin health is hydration. So make sure you're hydrating enough, right, to keep your skin clear. All right, the next one, you can't lose weight. The more carbs you eat, the more sugar you eat, you're not going to lose weight, right? Because insulin is a storage hormone. So if you're increasing your insulin all the time, it's going to be very, very difficult to lose weight. And if you've done low carb or keto or read anything about it, then you're going to understand that. And if you haven't, then that's a great point that you should remember, is that if you're putting carbs in your body, typically, like the standard American diet where you're putting way too many carbs in your body, it's going to be very, very difficult to lose weight. And if you do, it's going to rebound quickly. So keep that in mind. All right, the next one, visceral fat. So there's two types of fat, subcutaneous under your skin, and then visceral around your organs. And I am not a biochemist, so that's my extent of my understanding of fat. So, but what I do know is that visceral fat causes inflammation, and chronic inflammation is terrible for you. So terrible for your health, terrible for everything. So the bad news is, men, we collect our fat around our organs, right? So our stomachs get bigger. Women tend to collect their fat around their hips, which from a health perspective is much better for women and much worse for men, because visceral fat around your organs or in your stomach is much worse than fat that's not visceral. So, but sugar causes this. It, you can tell somebody who eats a lot of sugar, eats a lot of carbs, they have a bigger gut, right? Because it just happens. It just happens with sugar. So visceral fat and chronic inflammation. I'm going to talk about inflammation a little bit, but chronic inflammation is the culprit of a lot of health conditions. So it's best to avoid that at all costs. The next one, obviously, is toothaches, right? So the more sugar you eat, the more bacteria in your mouth that craves sugar, right? And that feeds on sugar. So the story I like to tell is that when I was younger, I used to sneak down in the basement because my parents had a chest full of Twinkies, frozen Twinkies in a freezer. And I would go down there and, shovel them in my mouth. So all this sugar. And then like most kids, I would just wet my toothbrush and not brush. As a result, I had all kinds of cavities. So if I knew now what I knew then, I probably would have skipped the Twinkies and brushed my teeth. So that's toothaches and tooth problems. Sugar causes that. The next one, gut problems. So fructose, which high fructose corn syrup is in absolutely every product that you can find. If you start looking at labels, you're going to see high fructose corn syrup in everything that we eat as processed food. So fructose causes leaky gut and inflammation. So leaky gut is where, bacteria can, be absorbed into your bloodstream and cause all kinds of conditions and inflammation. It can also cause candida, which is a type of fungus. So eating sugar, you've heard of the gut microbiome, your second brain. So the more sugar you eat, the more bacteria in your stomach that craves sugar. So, if you haven't done much research around the gut biome, when we say we have a gut feeling, there's more to it than you think, because researchers and scientists are now calling it the second brain. So this gut feeling may in fact be true, right? But that being said, we have to take care of our bacteria in our stomach. And if you eat sugar, you promote bad bacteria. If you eat healthy and fermented foods, you promote good bacteria. And that will go a long way in overall health. Okay, the next one, inflammation. So this is really the last one I want to talk about. So our bodies are designed to provide acute inflammation. So if we cut ourselves, we hurt ourselves, our body is very smart when it comes to taking care of that injury. And that's how we're designed. The problem is we're not designed for chronic inflammation. Our bodies were not designed to be inflamed all the time. And sugar and carbs cause this. Personally, when I eat a lot of sugar or a lot of carbs, I can feel it in my joints. So my hips hurt, my hands hurt. And that's a good thing and a bad thing, because I have an overly sensitive immune system, I believe, because my allergies are real bad. But the good news is I feel it immediately. So it's kind of a signal to say, don't really eat sugar, right? Or stay away from the carbs because I feel it right away. The problem is most people don't feel it right away. So they have chronic inflammation. It causes all sorts of health problems, inflammation, heart disease, everything. So chronic inflammation is something we want to avoid at all costs. So I saw a study that 80,000 women, and they gave one serving of high fructose corn syrup a day, increased their chances 95% of getting gout. So sugar is a bad, bad deal, right? All right, so that's my list. Now I want to share the list of a Facebook group that I'm part of when I ask the question, what do you feel when you eat sugar? And I'm just going to go through the list really quick because it's really, really telling. So several people said aches, headaches, nausea, sluggishness, no energy, diabetes, eyes blurry, hungry, hot flashes, shakes, dry skin, bloating, fatigue, feeling bad, candida, peeing a lot, runny nose, mood swings, swelling, and thirst, right? So everybody who eats sugar and it really thinks about it knows that it causes these type of bad symptoms, chronic inflammation, mood swings, foggy thoughts. So we know it. So if you're listening and you have never got away from sugar, you may be just used to this less than optimal way of, existing in the world with brain fog, ups and downs of your blood glucose. A lot of people talk about shakiness. So once you get away from sugar and you go back to sugar, then you can really feel the symptoms. So if you haven't ever kicked sugar, then I got the deal just for you. I'm offering a free no sugar challenge for 14 days, like I mentioned at the beginning. Absolutely free. You just have to friend request me on Facebook, and it's Daniel Perryman, and message me or whatever. But that way I can include you in the group, and we're going to do some cool stuff and try to educate everybody. We're going to share stories. I have people that are being part of this challenge who have kicked sugar, and they're going to share how they did it and what their challenges were. So please join us. It's going to be a great group. All right. And finally, I would say to become educated, there's a great video out by Robert Lustig. He's a physician out in San Francisco. It's called Sugar, the Bitter Truth. It's about an hour long. And after you watch that, you will understand all the challenges, all the bad effects, everything that is bad about sugar. He does an amazing job in this documentary, and you can find that on YouTube. So it's Robert Lustig, Sugar, the Bitter Truth. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching and listening, and we'll see how these live streams go from now on. I'll do it occasionally to see if it's working. So the video is available on the Low Carb Leader Facebook page, and the audio version is available on the Low Carb Leader podcast. So take care, everybody, and I hope you join us for the No Sugar Challenge. Take care.